Elon Musk, yesterday, and the Battle of Sullivan Island are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is June 28th, 2022. It is the 179th day of the year. There are 186 days left in 2022. It is the 26th Tuesday in the 27th week and the 8th day of summer. We got 86 days left until fall. Today, I thought we'd switch up the birthday and astrological sign. Today was the third day of a withering heat wave in the Pacific Northwest last year in 2021. The temperatures in Seattle soared to 108 degrees, an all-time record. The reading was taken at nearby Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, which began keeping official records for Seattle in November of 1948. Today is National Paul Bunyan Day. On June 28th, we remember fondly the tale of the big blue ox and the mighty lumberjack. It is National Paul Bunyan Day. Everyone get an axe, go chop down a tree. Just kidding. We need trees, don't chop any down. Described as a giant and a lumberjack with unusual skills, Paul Bunyan is one of the most famous North American folklore heroes. In the tales, Paul Bunyan was almost always accompanied by his companion, Babe the Blue Ox. First appearing in print in 1906 in a story published by the Northern Michigan journalist James McGilvey. Bunyan's character originated in folk tale circulated among lumberjacks in the northeastern United States and eastern Canada. I grew up in Southern California and I had a teacher, second or third grade, and he was from Minnesota, and we did this whole week-long thing on Paul Bunyan. It was very interesting. I've always had this little fascination with Paul Bunyan. Haven't thought about him in years, but I remember as a kid always thinking that was like a really cool story. I mean, you got a giant blue ox named Babe. How cool is that? All right, let's see what else June 28th has given us. 1776, the American Revolution. The Battle of Sullivan's Island ends with an American victory. One thing leads to another, and South Carolina has Carolina Day. On June 28, 1776, British ships sailed into Charleston Harbor and opened fire on a tiny fort on Sullivan's Island. The infamous shot heard around the world had been fired a little over a year before in 1775, but the Americans were still debating whether to declare independence from Britain. The British thought this would be an easy win by taking Charleston, which happened to be one of the largest and wealthiest ports in America at the time. You know, we were just a bunch of farmers back then with a bunch of hemped up Indians. At least that's how the British saw us. Little did they know, the Americans knew how to use their weapons and the Indians were willing to help fight. Not wanting to miss out on a party that really takes it to the British, the Spanish and the French joined along with us too. The Dutch a little bit also. But back on Sullivan's Island, the American patriots weren't really for war at the time, so they threw together a quick fort with what they had available, and it happened to be palmetto trees. As the British started firing on the island, the bombardment was basically blunted by the spongy logs which absorbed the cannonballs rather than splinter, let's say like a pine, oak, or whatever kind of tree. The patriots were kind of limited on supplies. I mean, obviously, they built a fort out of palm trees, basically. So they kind of only took shots they knew they were going to hit something with, and it worked. They severely damaged 2 of the 9 ships, delivered moderate damage to 2 frigates that the British had there, and actually damaged a third so much that it had to be grounded and eventually scuttled. The American casualties, they only had 12 deaths and 25 wounded. Meanwhile, the British had 220 killed or wounded. You know, I'm sure every single time the British, because they were the biggest navy and the biggest military in the world at the time, the most powerful, I should say, every time they took a loss, I'm sure they were like, WTF, what's going on here, you know? I had a colonel when I was in the Army say, nothing beats a soldier with a cause. This is a perfect example of it. 1865, the Army of the Potomac is disbanded. 1870, the U.S. Congress establishes the first federal holidays: New Year's Day, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. 1894, Labor Day becomes an official U.S. holiday. 1896, an explosion in the Newton Coal Company's twin shaft mine in Pittston, Pennsylvania, results in a massive cave-in that kills 58 miners. You know, there's no way. I'm a little claustrophobic. I don't dig being underground too much or anything like that. I don't even like getting CAT scans or anything. I cannot imagine being a miner. That is just the roughest job in the world to me. 1902, the U.S. Congress passes the Spooner Act, authorizing President Theodore Roosevelt to acquire the rights from Colombia for the Panama Canal. 1987, bit of a jump here. For the first time in military history, a civilian population is targeted for chemical attack when Iraqi warplanes bombed an Iranian town. 1997, Holyfield vs. Tyson 2. Mike Tyson is disqualified in the third round for biting a piece of Evander Holyfield's ear off. This was insane. I watched this fight live and it was just... I couldn't believe it was happening. I mean, we all in my friend's front room sat around just staring at each other going, what just happened? Why is he jumping around like that? And then they showed a picture of his ear and he bit a chunk off of Evander Holyfield's ear. Movies released on June 28, 2019, yesterday. I may have talked about this movie before because I've been talking about it a lot lately. This is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. It's a love story, it's a musical, it is just a really good movie. It's a story about a struggling musician who wakes up, he was hit by a bus, and realizes that the Beatles never existed in an alternative like timeline thing. He takes advantage of being the only person on earth who remembers the Beatles. He remembers their music because he's a musician, he knows how to sing. He starts playing their music and becomes an overnight success. So I saw the movie on like Amazon. There was some controversy because in the trailers they show the singer on a talk show with the actress Ana de Armas, who was in like Blade Runner and a couple other things, Knives Out. So they used that in the trailers and the promotions. And then when the movie comes out, it was a deleted scene. They cut her out of the movie. So everyone's all up in arms about it. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's bigger things in the world where that should even take 5 minutes of anyone's day is just bizarre. But we live in a world where being offended is now a good way to get attention, so I guess it's just par for course here in 2022, or even back then in 2019. But it's a great movie if you ever get a chance to see it. I've seen it several times. Even when I was on a cruise recently, I watched it again with my wife because she never watches anything I suggest, and then afterwards she tells me that was a wonderful movie. I mean, no kidding, I've been telling you to watch it for a month. Moving on. Born on June 28th, 1971, Elon Musk. I did not know he was that young. He's an American engineer who founded PayPal, SpaceX, Tesla Motor Company, and Neuralink. In January 2021, he was the richest person in the world with a net worth of $188 billion. He received an economics and physics degree from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. Interesting fact about him, in 2000, he married Justine Musk, and after having 6 sons, the couple divorced in 2008. I didn't know he had that many kids. This guy was 12 years old. He coded a video game. He made a video game, and he sold it for $500. There's not much to the game, but a 12-year-old made it and then made money off of it, which is amazing. He's a very interesting guy. Sometimes he's a little weird, but he's a very interesting person. Died on June 28, 1836, James Madison, the father of the Constitution and 4th President of the United States, who notably authored the United States Bill of Rights. He chose to attend the College of New Jersey, which would become Princeton University instead of the popular institution among Virginians of the day, the College of William and Mary, mainly because of the climate the school was located in. He wrote 85 Federalist Papers, which were essays that prompted the ratification of the United States Constitution, along with Alexander Hamilton and John Jay. Another interesting fact, he was the Secretary of State under President Thomas Jefferson. James Madison was 85 years old when he passed away. Now, he died a few days before 4th of July, which was the day Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Monroe all died on the 4th of July, which is kind of a coincidence. His doctor suggested that he take stimulants to prolong his life till the 4th. He refused and died on the 28th. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.